We are STEM scholars, and we're here to teach you about the world.
Hi, I'm Jackson.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Anthony.
And we're going to explain to you guys how the seasons work.
So most of us that live on Earth have experienced the 4 seasons that happen every year. And we've noticed that it gets nice and warm in the summer and cold in the winter. So why does this happen? Well, first, we have to talk about the fact that the Earth revolves around the sun in an orbit once a year. It makes a complete circle around the sun. It's doing this very fast all the time, even though we don't feel it. This circle is not completely circle, but it's more like an egg. More like this shape if the sun was the red dot in the center. And also, the Earth is revolving around an axis, like a top. It's spinning, and this causes our day-to-night cycle. The axis can be thought of as this imaginary line that goes through the center of the Earth. But it's not going straight up and down, it's actually tilted. And this tilt is what causes us to have seasons.
Alright, so we have an axis that's tilted and it causes seasons. But how? So we all know the sun produces the light, and coming with the light there's an amount that comes with heat. So like when you're out on the beach on a nice hot summer day, you know, when it's really bright outside, that's also when it's the hottest. So light actually brings heat with it. And going along with that, we have to talk about something called the equator. Now the equator, like the axis, is an imaginary line that goes around the middle of the Earth, whereas the axis went through the middle of the Earth. So if you look down here, it's a little hard to see because we're doing it on a whiteboard, but if the equator was this dotted line right here making a circle, the axis would actually go directly through that circle. Now, because the equator is in the middle of the Earth here, it's always getting the same amount of light and therefore the same amount of heat. But another thing the equator does is it kind of splits the Earth into a northern and a southern hemisphere. This is important because of the tilt of the axis. If we look over here, which we have described as northern summer, because of the tilt of the axis, the northern part of Earth is actually getting more light and therefore more heat than the southern part of the Earth. So when the axis is tilted like this towards the sun, the northern part of the Earth is now experiencing summer, whereas the southern part of the Earth is actually experiencing winter. And that is important to know that when one part of the Earth is experiencing summer, the other part is actually experiencing winter because of the tilt of the axis. Now, if we followed our orbit, and we're over here now, because the southern part of the Earth is now getting more sunlight and therefore more heat than the northern part of Earth, now the southern part of Earth is now in summer, whereas the northern part of Earth is now in winter. So another thing to know though, because the equator gets the same amount of light and therefore the same amount of heat, the equator doesn't actually experience season changes like we do up here in Michigan. It's always warm there. So if you really like the summer, when you're old, go move there. It's great. It's hot all the time. But if you look at a picture of our orbit and the Earth going around the sun here, we have fall and spring. One thing to know about fall and spring is that when the Earth is in these positions, both the southern and the northern hemispheres actually get the same amount of light and the same amount of heat. But if they get the same amount of light and the same amount of heat, how come they're different seasons? And this is what Anthony is going to explain to you guys.
So, what is the difference between fall and spring? So when we're going from a hotter environment to a colder environment, we experience something known as fall. And an indicator that we use is hibernation. This is when you'll see many animals such as squirrels and bears, they will start to collect food to prepare to live through our colder environment, which is defined as winter. We'll also see plants that will start to store their energy, and as a consequence, they will die off as they prepare for winter. Similarly, when we go from a colder environment to a hotter environment, we will see what is known as something that's opposite of hibernation, where we'll have new plants that were previously dying in the winter, they will start to come back to life in the spring. And we'll also see animals that went into hibernation, such as bears and squirrels. They will come out of hibernation because they know that they'll be able to find more food that the plants can provide to them, which will lead to a stronger survival rate in the summertime. So a reason that plants and animals do this behavior is because they can recognize when we're going from a colder environment to a hotter environment, or a hotter environment to a colder environment.
And this is how the seasons work. Bye.
See ya.